Yo, what up, homies? This is Raf. It's your boy Raf. Look, you could actually see my face now. Let me get these out of the way. So, we finished the first story arc for the Cyberpunk Red campaign we did, and I'm happy how it went. I'm glad that we were able to do so many sessions. We had our issues like with some breaks and some scheduling stuff that you can't help, and that's the problem when you get older and you try to play tabletop games. It's not as easy because there's a lot to go with it, and man, I really like GMing Cyberpunk a lot more than Dungeons and Dragons, that's for sure. Or when I used to do Ghettos and Gangsters back in high school, which was kind of like a mix of Cyberpunk with like GTA. This was before GTA had like the 3D world thing with GTA 3. Yeah, I'm aging myself. But yeah, man, I'm just glad that it was, I think, a total of 7 sessions. It says 6 because we had that session 0 where we created the characters and all that stuff. But it was fun setting up the story. In the beginning, I had a lot of branches that, like, depending on where the players would pick, it's where I would make the story head to. You might see a lot of vibrating because of my car, but give me 1 second. I'm kind of glad they picked the one they did. I knew they were gonna go for the girl story, the story with Sana being kidnapped, because they started off with her, and give me a second, and it's really hard not to keep on going with her. So I did have the little things to branch off on the side, and I had that little Easter egg of Rolo Tomasi being the chicken, the Pollo Tomasi, dude on a motorcycle. So yeah, that was cool. That was fun. In the beginning, I had too much prepped, and I was afraid of railroading. There we go. I was afraid of railroading, but I'm glad that I kind of got better with it later on. It was fun though, seeing a GIF and T-Bone adapt to the game, and me adapting with the game too, and learning their timing. That first session was rough though, with the echoing sound and all that stuff. But hey, we ironed those wrinkles out, and then we had, in the end, like I would say towards the last session that we had last night, it was much smoother than the other ones. And of course, there's areas of improvement, like things that I could have fixed myself. Like there's times that I forgot to do some accents. I made some mistakes with places, like instead of saying Crystal Palace, I said Golden Palace. I mentioned that one of the fighters had black and, I think it was black and gold or black and yellow trunks, and then when he came out, I mentioned him as black and red trunks. It's whatever. Those are like little details that you can sweep under the rug. But I think it was fun having some of that cyberpunk lore tangled up in there without them knowing. Especially the whole thing with Arasaka. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking about the ending of the campaigns if you haven't watched them, of the story arc if you haven't watched it. Arasaka is kind of like exiled from the United States in Night City, and since they kind of helped out Arasaka without knowing, this was one of the missions that kind of leads the way for Arasaka to come back to Night City. And the cool thing is, this was in the combat zone area. It was in the borderline of the Glen and Old Japantown. So if you play 2077, you notice that Japantown is not a combat zone anymore. And you have the Glen being all like, exotic and pretty and everything, with trees and everything in it. And another spoiler alert, Hanako is, you meet her, well, one of the final missions is you meet up at the Glen. And the thing is, per the book, everyone that was in Old Japantown moved up to something with a W. I forgot the name of the place. But they move up there, and then Old Japantown slowly gets taken back thanks to the Tiger Claws, because the Tiger Claws, wanted to set up, Old Japantown to be what it was. And then in 2077, you notice Old Japantown, of course, Japantown is not a combat zone anymore. But the cool thing is, if you played the game 2077, and it's been out for a while, so I don't, this part is not much of a spoiler. When you go and you have that parade mission, in the parade mission, you see like Japantown is thriving, it's alive, but there's a lot of Arasaka presence around. So that's why I think with this mission and them doing what they did it's a cool first, little step, showing that Arasaka is helping Old Japantown and the stuff that's going in there to do better, and then making everyone in the old United States and Night City think twice and maybe give that chance to Arasaka to come back, which we all know, you played 2077, Arasaka's back. But it was cool, it was fun. Also, then they were unaware that they were actually working with Arasaka agents. That was fun. The whole thing with the Midnight Oasis, like I when they finished all they needed to do, and it was towards the ending, like getting closer to the epilogue of the campaign, and I got to play that gunship song that's like Artemis and something whatever. I was like, finally I get to play this song, and and thankfully things got linked up, because the players did something different or didn't even want to do it, or they end up killing or getting someone else murdered. The song, I won't be able to do the song in a way, because I could always find a way to squeeze it in there and give it to another character or something, but I didn't want to. Like, it was meant for Shusha / Fennec to play, and yeah, it came out cool. It was really cool, because the lyrics do mention how the lights went out, because when they first made it to the Midnight Oasis, all the lights went out, and then that big board with a magnetized tie on greeted them and took them to the garage where they could go down into the Midnight Oasis. And then the whole thing with Rollo Tomasi, and that's the thing too, I was hoping that they would go in and question Rollo Tomasi to see what he thought or what he went through, but they didn't. But just a cool behind the scenes of what happened. Rollo Tomasi, the reason why he got caught up with, and this is the thing, it sucks if I talk about it now, because if we play when we play again, and then the bozos come along, and then something happens, and I find a good spot to squeeze in the whole Rollo Tomasi and the bozo thing, I kind of rub myself into a wall. But I don't care. This is the reason why and how Rollo Tomasi got tricked into becoming a cybernetic chicken. Rollo Tomasi was going to have a show. He's always anti-corporate, so he has a lot of corporations pissed off at him. An unnamed corporation, and coincidentally he had the neck case and the heart thing. But the reason why they got connected, they know, is because the heart was he gave the heart to the girl because he was friends with the girl's dad. So when he was at the club, one of the bozos dressed up like him, biosculpted just like him, comes up to him and greets him, and then Rollo Tomasi's like kind of surprised and like flattered by the guy spending all that all those Eurobucks to biosculpt himself and make himself look like Rollo Tomasi. And then they started talking, and then Rollo Tomasi mentioned something about brain dances, and and then things got lewd, and then the doppelganger Rollo Tomasi offered a brain dance that had sexual material in it. Yeah, that's like the nicest way I could say. And Rollo Tomasi, being a rocker boy, doing his thing, he's not gonna say no to that. So he thought he was putting on a brain dance halo, but it turned out being that halo that's also by BMS, by Bateman, Makovic, and Saito. And it was tricked by the bozos that were hired by that unnamed corporation, and they put him inside a chicken. And they put the other halo inside the cybernetic chicken, and then Rollo Tomasi became Pollo Tomasi. And that's why they had the note telling him F you and stuff like that. They got this material on loan from Arasaka because it's BMS stuff. Now, this small corporation, this unnamed corporation that got this on loan, got it thanks to Dunn. Dunn has been working a lot. He was a former Arasaka employee or associate, or however you want to say it. And then when you leave Arasaka, you can't always leave Arasaka. You're part of Arasaka. They're all about family and about stuff. So when he left, it left a big stain on there. And then even though his driver assistant / bodyguard Takashi and his netrunner that he didn't know was Takashi's daughter Rose, they worked for him when he was at Arasaka. He expected them to be loyal to him when he left Arasaka, but they weren't because they're part of Arasaka first over him. He started making deals with Militech and so on, and once Militech found out that he was working with Arasaka and gave this equipment to another corporation, Militech kind of had enough of his shit and murdered him and had a hit put on him. He was assassinated. Towards the end of the campaign, you hear that little news blurb on newscast mentioning that they found Dunn dead. He's done dead. So that was cool. I know they never asked that or seen that, but it's like the little back end story, just giving you that makes it funner. If they would have gone with Dunn, it would have been heavy Militech going against Arasaka. And that's the most I could say, because who knows what else would have gone from there. All I know is it would, no matter which side they picked, it would have been a shitty side, because either one side was going to be Arasaka, and the other side is going to be a two-timing former Arasaka employee working with in hand with Militech and kind of getting these guys and shit. And unfortunately, all I could say is that the father of the girl of Sana, I can't really say what corporations he's at, because I really don't have one. But I can link it up to something soon if I can think of it, because now I get this break time. Within this break time, I don't have to worry about setting up the next game of Cyberpunk, which I don't mind. I loved doing it. It was fun prepping it, and then each session that finished, there was new stuff that happened, so then I had to adjust to it. But I liked that they started getting out of that. The players, T-Bone and Gibbs, started getting out of their shells towards the end of the last few sessions, because the first few they were very tight. They were going very linear, following the story. But then I saw that T-Bone was there, stretching his legs and going out and exploring and checking out the fights and stuff. That I really loved that. That was fun. I know it took up some time, but I don't. This is not a job. This is not a meeting that we're rushing things to finish at a certain time. We're just playing a game to have fun. So it was fun that he was doing the fights and everything. Unfortunately, in the middle of one of those sword fights, I got interrupted. Someone needed a charger, and my daughter was saying goodnight. And it kind of threw me off of my train of thought of what I was doing, because I was going to set it up almost like, that he could kind of roll dice and have the fight, be one of the fighters. But I since I got interrupted, I just ended up just announcing it and saying how it went. Because he did bet money. It would be cool if you bet money and then you just play as the fighter that you bet on, and then hopefully you beat the other fighter. But let's just say the cards are against his favor either way, because that other dude in the red and the black and the red shorts, yeah, he's a killer. That guy's he's a murderer, man. You don't want to fuck with that guy. That's the other cool little back end story of Cyberpunk I wanted to put in there too. Because there's this combat zone in Hong Kong that was deadly. Like people didn't want to fuck with it. They don't want to go in there. And you go in there, and there was a gang in there called the Blood Razors. And what they would do is that they would fight in the combat zone with only blades. Anything that's sharp and pointy, they'll use it. And if you're caught using a gun, or someone that's with a gun, you lose your honor, or you look like weak, like you don't know how to defend yourself. Because most of these guys have a high, reflex and so on, so they could dodge bullets and stuff. And they have that model, like you could run out of bullets and then you can't find any bullets. But once you have something sharp, you don't run out of that. You can find something sharp anywhere and make that into a weapon. So what happened is China took over that area of Hong Kong and gassed it, and pretty much everyone that was there that didn't escape ended up dying. And then the ones that escaped went their own ways. And then you saw these guys made it to Night City, into an underground fighting ring at the Midnight Oasis, in another combat zone. But using their skills, to make a little bit more money. But their risk and reward exchange was pretty high. As you can see, the other guy got murdered, got sliced and diced. I wanted to put more details into that death too, but next time. But yeah, and then another thing I noticed too, that before we started the session, Gif and I were talking about net running and how leveling up to level 5 net running isn't that much of a big deal. So it's good just to save up the IP and just have enough to level up to 5 and then level up to 6. But after seeing him go through the net architectures I set up, I didn't expect how can I say it? I didn't expect it to be so rough. Like, it was hard to roll like a good number for him. So then it dawned on me, it's like, yeah, that rank 5, that one little extra point that you get on your interface makes a big difference. Because there's a lot of time, if you notice those rolls with the Ifrit and the Imp, and even with the Skunks, he was below by 1, or it was tied. So then, since they were defending, they would win that exchange. So if he had just that one little extra point by the level 5, he would have won those matches instead of tying or being below by 1. And even if he was below by 1 as a defender, he would have won those. So that was a cool thing to see in action. Also, the whole medtech role, the crazy things that you could do with it, and like the story. I was hoping that Osa was going to show up, because I had some ideas there for tech when it came with the turrets and so on. But Gif was smart. He thought good on his feet. He noticed don't worry about taking control of the nodes. Just destroy the thing controlling it, and then you don't have a turret shooting at you anymore. And he was also smart staying in that net architecture, because if he would have left it, the whole thing resets, since he didn't get to the end and he could have set up a virus, that the demon would have taken control of the turrets again, and the little fighting robot droid dudes, and yeah, that would have been a mess. I don't think that would have survived that. The turrets that I had there in the computer server room, the first few turrets were assault rifles, and then the main turret in the server room where Sana was out, that one was I was gonna flip a coin, because I had to either, and that one was gonna be shitty. That one was gonna be like, oh man, if they didn't pay attention to this, they're fucked. Because it was either gonna be a flamethrower or a railgun, and I was gonna flip a coin or roll a dice, negative, positive, to see which one it was gonna be. Because I didn't want to be I didn't want to give that responsibility 100% for me to cause the death of their character. If that was the case, I'll leave it on to the dice, and just on Mike Pondsmith and how he set up the game, supposedly, because he's the one that killed your Cyberpunk character. And now that we're gonna play The Witcher, I'm gonna read up on The Witcher. I love the melee combat of The Witcher. That shit's fucking. I like the dynamic of it. It was smart what they did. Once we're done with The Witcher one shot for the Sunday morning ones, we're gonna go back to Cyberpunk Sunday mornings, and hopefully nighttime I could do The Witcher games. If I can't do the campaign of Witcher nighttime, at least I'll probably do it off stream, and then I'll probably talk about it like almost like a war story, like kind of what I'm doing now, talking about the campaign. Now, my favorite parts of the campaign was Gif turning the gun into a fucking rubber chicken. Also the T-Bone walking around and checking out the town and checking out stuff. I really like that, especially like he had that long day where he did the surgery and everything, and instead of going to bed, I liked it because it felt like really real. He had a surgery, and I guess he was too hyped up just to go back to sleep, so he went out for a snack and a walk around the casino, and that was really cool. And that gave me an opening. I'm like, you know what? Like, since he was getting all nervous, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play with this. I'm gonna play with him being nervous. And I like that because if you're not paranoid playing Cyberpunk game while he was paranoid just going to a vending machine. If you're not paranoid, like doing something mundane like that, then it's not a Cyberpunk game. Like, you have to feel like something's gonna get you or someone's gonna get you around the corner, and you're never safe, even if you're at a place that you feel that should be safe. That's Cyberpunk right there. So I'm like, oh, he's getting nervous and stuff, and then I had a few of them being roles. One of them was that old couple that he rolled out and got that old couple. The blonde lady, that came in first. That was just the first one. I just made that one be the blonde lady. Then the other one was either an old couple or it's gonna be a very drunk dude. And then the other one, I forgot what I wrote, but the other one was gonna be like maybe like a possible like fist fight or something. Who knows? I don't remember what I wrote there, but. Then on his way back, and he started eating. I'm like, oh, he's having a good time. He's a little too safe. You know what? I think this is when I need to bring back the Mad China Killer. And he was already messed up by the security. The other cool thing is that I was hoping that they would go back to Shusha's room. Give me a second. Here. I was hoping they were going to go back to Shusha's room, because the thing in Shusha's room, they never turned on the light switch, which I was hoping. It's like they read my mind. If they would have flipped the light switch had a little incendiary grenade, you would say, trap. So that would have blown up, and then there was going to be this little confetti and balloon animals come down. And then the confetti, when it touches the balloon animals, because it's all bozo stuff, they would pop, and inside it would be biotoxin gas. And that was going to be fun. They didn't do that, but I was hoping that if they go back to Shusha's room, even though, they moved her to a different room, because, there was a note there was, other cool stuff that they could, the closet they never opened in that room. I was hoping they would go back to maybe check that out. But when they do, they'll see the dead security guards, not of just the ones that the Mad China Killer killed and went away with, but also just the other ones that died going in the room and turning on the lights. It was going to be a massacre, but that was cool. And then the theme I mainly had, before I end the stream right now, the main theme I had for the campaign, and they were getting it, was everyone that would be considered your ally, your friend, was the one that either was lying to your face on purpose or lying to your face unknowingly. They just thought they had the information, but like how they thought it was Boston Medical Systems, but it wasn't. Originally it wasn't going to be Boston BMS. It was going to be that other one, Ray Microprocessing, whatever, the cybernetics. But I forgot the name. Right now I forgot the name of that corporation, and I forgot it at the time of the game. So I went into Boston Medical Solutions, which is what I was doing with. I was doing the campaign I'm doing with John the Wise. Boston Medical Solutions is the corporation in that game, and that's the first thing that came in my mind. And I said it, and it kind of like, I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do here? But it went along into Rose having bad information. So going back to the theme was all the people that were considered your allies or your friends were either straight up lying to your face on purpose or unintentionally. And anyone that you considered your enemy was like the most honest and truthful to you. Like when the Mad China Killer was the enemy, but when he was talking the whole time, he was just telling the truth, because he, just didn't give a shit. And the whole thing with Dr. Saito, he has balls of steel, because he doesn't care. He signed his name on that guy's death, on Sana's the dead body, with the heart plunged out and his ribs open. there's something scary about that dude, and I don't want to mention anything about him because then it'll be a spoiler. Because he is so far looks like the big bad for their campaign, and I don't want to say what his motivations are. But yeah, it was fun, and I'm glad and grateful that we were able to play 7 sessions of Cyberpunk